They did everything that was needed without hiring a handyman. And so I was watching firsthand how to do it yourself.
Back in the 1970s, when your parents or grandparents were in the workforce, I imagine everyone knew how to
Through experience, you learn these skills, so anybody can do it. Like I said, I didn't think I had any talent, any skill.
Really, the only person that cannot become effective at flipping couches, flipping furniture, are the people that are afraid to take risks. The ones that are afraid to try something and fail. Because welcome to another episode of the Couch Pod. Joining me today is Lane, stay-at-home mom and furniture flipper based in Houston, Texas, who is also a content creator and has a message to share with our audience today about how being a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean that you can't contribute financially to your family. Lane, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here, talk about flipping and just the adventure of entrepreneurship and all that brings.
Why don't we take a step back and you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got here today? Like what got you interested in furniture flipping and how did you get started?
Yes, so furniture flipping, I would say there were hints of it throughout my life. And when it really came to full fruition was in a desperate time and need for many reasons. So growing up, I would say my family was pretty resourceful. My parents were, I would say, DIYers before DIY was cool. They were remodeling our home. They remodeled our bathroom. They tiled our floors. They put cabinetry in our laundry room. They did the gardens. They did everything that was needed without hiring a handyman. And so I was watching firsthand how to do it yourself. My mom would flip furniture. Back when I was growing up, you didn't discard things as much and you kind of repurposed what you had. And so I got to see her turning our furniture around, reupholstering it. My grandparents owned a reupholstery business. So every time my grandpa would come to visit, he would be refinishing our tabletop because me and my sister were rough on it and always putting hot drinks or whatever the case was, doing a craft that stained the table. And he would refinish it and make it look like new. And then when I was in college, I didn't have a lot of money and I wanted cute furniture. So I went thrifting with a friend and found some French provincial furniture and redid it black and white. And I was so excited. I thought it looked so cute. And every time I walked into my room, it was like a proud moment of like, I made that. I made it look how I wanted and I got to enjoy my room. In 2021, I got into a car accident that totaled my car. And we had just moved into a house, and our mortgage kind of stretched us already. And who I got into an accident with, they were at fault and they didn't have insurance. So it put all the financial burden back on us. And my husband was already stretched at work, and I was a stay at home mom. And we knew we didn't want to put our kids in childcare. That just wasn't our preference, but we also needed some kind of income on top of what my husband was making. And my husband and I had joked about flipping furniture because in our previous neighborhood, people were constantly throwing stuff out because it was a high rental community. And so it was like every August there was stuff at the curb. And we would joke about getting it and selling it, but we had no idea there was a market for it. So then when we moved into our new house, I needed to fill our home with furniture, but I needed to be resourceful about it because we didn't have a lot of finances. And especially after being in the car accident, it like really restricted us. So I started looking on Facebook Marketplace and I picked up an armoire for myself and a dresser for my daughter. And I was like, okay, I want to redo this. I had a vision in my mind, but I didn't know how to make it come to life. And at the time, I thought it was just like paint and a paintbrush is how you flip furniture. And I, of course, got on YouTube, started coming across furniture flippers. And one in particular, she was very open about her career as a furniture flipper and how she made an income out of it, took simple things and made them look fantastic and resold them. That's not the purpose that I got on there for, but as soon as I saw that, in my head, I was like, I could do that. I could do that. And like 2 weeks prior, I had actually crying to a friend, like, I have no skills, I have no talent, I don't know how I could possibly market myself to make money from home. I was very nervous to like try and pick up an at-home job when I'm like, I need physical training on how to do this. So I was like, in this video, my brain starts kicking on of like, okay, how can I start flipping furniture? And I'm going through my husband's tool chest, like, okay, what does he have that I can use? Because she was also teaching the methods on how to flip the furniture. And I found a sander. So I ran to Home Depot. I got some paint. I got a paintbrush. I got my sanding pad. I just started going to work, and we had some end tables that we no longer liked the style of, and we had tried to sell like in a garage sale. I tried to sell it on OfferUp, and it just wasn't selling. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start with these. There's no risk. The paint and the paintbrush, I think it all cost me like $30 total. So I just went to an extra room we had. I put a tarp down and I started sanding, and I listed them, and within 24 hours they sold for $100, and I was so thrilled. I was like, this is it. I was like, I'm gonna start in on this, and man, that hooked me right in.
No, it's such a cool origin story. So, and I think a lot of people can relate. Becoming a stay-at-home mom, a lot of your identity ends up revolving around your home life and taking care of the children. And I think it's easy to feel disconnected, financially disconnected from the workforce. And maybe you ended up questioning if you could contribute as part of the workforce and if people would really want to hire you. But then you kind of saw this opportunity and reflected back on your childhood experiences, watching your parents craft, your grandparents craft and be handy, and just having that realization that this is something that you could do. And I imagine that was quite empowering for you.
It really was. And I remember when I sold them, I like immediately called my husband. I'm like, I just made $100 off of that. And my husband was shocked because, again, we had no idea there was a market for flipped furniture. And so he was like, encouraged me to keep going and see what else I could do.
It's really interesting because like the value in labor and the value in different skill sets tends to come and go, right? So, back in the 1970s when your parents or grandparents were in the workforce, I imagine everyone knew how to like shingle a roof or, fix a window or, even mow their lawn. Whereas, I know guys, people who have homes, they don't know how to mulch, so they're totally dependent on their landscaper. Like a lot of these trade skills, these more technical craft based skills have been lost in the modern economy. It's because we live in a majority service based economy now. And so we have a lot of knowledge workers as opposed to people who are doing things with their hands. And that's kind of what gives a unique window and opportunity for someone who has a more craft based skill set, who can work with furniture, work with wood to do this refinishing and give it a little bit more value in the modern economy.
Absolutely. And beforehand, I think a lot of people too don't realize, I would say these skills are learned skills. It's not like you are born with it or you're not. Or, like it takes an extreme knowledge to flip furniture or do these things. But I didn't even know the grit of sandpaper when I started. I didn't know how to use a sander. You're supposed to sand flat, and I was digging into the wood trying to remove the finish and whatever. Through experience, you learn these skills. So anybody can do it. Like I said, I didn't think I had any talent, any skill, like no knowledge of anything of importance that I could sell and make money from home. But it's really like these are just simple techniques and ways to flip furniture that you build on over time with experience. And so for me, it really built a new confidence in me because, like you said, like you start to lose your value as somebody who can contribute as a stay at home mom. Like you become like the snack getter and the diaper changer, and like your world revolves around mindless tasks. And especially when your children are small and you're not really having stimulating conversation with anybody, you're just home like, okay, what's the next task? What's the next task? So flipping furniture became a therapy for me where not only did I start to find value in myself, it rewarded me once I put my effort in and I was able to see the finished product and then sell it to somebody who was so excited to have a custom piece for their home. Was like, okay, I do have something to offer. I do have a skill. I do have a talent. And it's outside of domestic duties and it brings value to my family. It's like through repurposing furniture, I then started to repurpose my own identity, have a way to like really build my confidence and feel like I had something more to offer. Because in motherhood, you start to think like it almost feels like monotonous and just mind numbing. Being a stay at home mom is incredibly valuable. Like you're growing human beings that are going to go out into the world and contribute. But it's hard to see that in the daily life. When you can take a break during nap time or after bedtime or have your kids play outside with you and you can build something, not only are you doing something, you're also teaching your children how to work hard, how to pour into something that will return to you with an investment, like build something for yourself. And that, women empowerment, women can do stuff too. It's not just dad who can use the tools, but mom can too. And even like they love to get involved with me and try to sand or paint, or my oldest, she loves to be a visionary and try to be like, mom, if you did this piece in this color with these kind of handles, she's already getting into the mindset of how to refinish furniture. And she's not even doing it, but just through seeing me, she's inspired to also create for herself.
Hey, really quick before the podcast, did you know Ivy Flip has created the best couch flipping app in the world? With our newest update, we have the fastest marketplace search times. This means you'll get to listings way before your competition. With Ivy Flip by your side, you can dominate your market. Not to mention, we also help with cross-listing and inventory management. If you're serious about your couch flipping business, you need this app. Try the app today and get a free trial. Just search Ivy Flip in the Google Play Store or iOS App Store, or click the link in the description now.
Absolutely. No, that's a really beautiful story, really beautiful message. I'm actually tearing up a little bit. And, it sounds like now you're getting the whole family involved in the entrepreneurial pursuit.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I would say my vision for my business as a furniture flipper would to be to create a legacy that growing up, it's like you go to school, you go to college, and then you get a career. And for me, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I couldn't be a nurse. It made me nauseous. I didn't want to be an engineer. I thought it was boring. Like all of the standard careers that you pursue did not appeal to me. And for me, I knew I wanted to be a stay at home mom when I was younger. I just didn't realize all that came with being a stay at home mom. And so, teaching, like you said, a trade where it doesn't have to be furniture, you can build your own furniture, you can redo your own home with the tools in your hands that you have. I want to instill in my girls a skill set that transcends over different opportunities that they can find a way to make money while they figure out what they want to do. They don't have to be furniture flippers or DIYers, but they will at least have a skill set that they can fall back on to make some kind of money.
Absolutely. And as you were saying before, anyone can do this, right? And I think really the only person that cannot become effective at flipping couches, flipping furniture, are the people that are afraid to take risks, the ones that are afraid to try something and fail. Because, I mean, I'm sure you have many stories of this, but not every flip went well.
Oh, yeah. Oh yes.
And the road to success is probably paved with many failed flips, but it's from those failures that you learn and you figure out how to do things better and have a better approach. But maybe you could share an example of a time when things went wrong and not according to plan.
I could say pretty much every flip is that way. Hindsight is 2020. Talking about the flips that I've done now, I have confidence in. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. I was able to, refinish something. But in the moment, I am questioning myself. There have been tears over furniture. Like this has definitely pushed my limits of confidence. But there was a time I picked up a mid-century modern piece of furniture. It was a dresser, and those are highly sought after here. And it was free. So I got it, but the leg had come off and it had this huge stain on the top of it. And I was like going into it with all the confidence, like, no problem, I can do that. And then once I got into it, the leg had like pegs that had to fit in perfectly and it wasn't working. Then the stain on top, I had used every method under the sun to try and remove it. And then I had a last ditch effort to try and bleach the stain out. And I was like, well, I don't want it to be like one patch that's bleached. So I'm going to bleach the whole thing. And then afterward, it was just my whole entire dresser was splotchy and patchy and looked terrible. And I was like, okay, there's a saying is like, trust the process as you're flipping furniture. I would say almost every flip you come across, you're like, oh my gosh, I've screwed this whole thing up, or it's not going how I want. But if you stay the course, it will work out. So I sanded it down and I was able to refinish it, and I sold it for $1,100, and it ended up being a beautiful profit. It was a huge labor, but after the fact, I had so much more confidence because I was able to overcome those obstacles. and have a great reward from it. And the lady who bought it from me loved it. And it was funny too when we delivered it. My husband is I call him my sexy assistant, but he's very willing to help me. And so we had gone to deliver it, and her stairs was like a 90-degree angle to get it up into the room she wanted. So we're talking about how we're going to get it up the stairs, and it was a 9-drawer dresser, so it was big and heavy. We ended up doing it flawlessly. And afterward, the lady complimented us. She's like, I'm a marriage therapist. I would say you guys have like a skill set that most marriages don't have, because I watched you communicate through the issue beforehand and then get it done without arguing or raising voices or anything. So I got 2 rewards out of that dresser.
There you go. Good, great teamwork. So that's a flip where you had some adversity. Maybe you could give an example of a really successful flip, one that you look back on really fondly and proudly.
Sure. It was probably like 9 o'clock at night, or no, 8 o'clock at night, because I was getting my kids ready for bed, and I saw somebody listed mid-century modern furniture for free. My husband was out meeting some friends, and my husband has a demanding work schedule, so a lot of times I'm picking up furniture by myself, but I try to be mindful of the times that I pick it up and the areas that I go to. But this set like hooked me, and I was like, I have to have this furniture. So I told my husband, here's the address. I'm going to pick up this furniture, loaded my girls up. And I went, and this couple was getting rid of a mid-century modern set that they had since the beginning of their marriage. It was like 35 years or something. I got it with the mindset that I was going to redo it. And once I brought it home, it was in flawless condition. And I had explained to them that I was going to be reselling it. And they were all for it. Like, they were so encouraging. I ended up just polishing it and polishing the drawers to make sure they slid well, vacuumed it out, wiped it down, and I sold that for $1,100. It had mirrors, and I sold those for an extra $50 to the same lady. But it took like very little time, and I was able to get a huge profit from it, not invest a lot of effort. So there's a lot of flexibility within furniture flipping. Like, not every flip has to be a total transformation. You can find something that's in good condition and polish it and sell it as is. I would say majority of the time people are totally okay with that. Like, I find a lot of stuff that's being given away for free. And if I get the sense that they're trying to like help somebody in need, I'll explain to them what I'm doing and give them the opportunity to be like, "Oh, I'm not okay with that." Or, you know, most of the time they're like, "I don't care what you do with it. I just want it out of my house." And then I have the opportunity to put the most work into it or a little bit of effort and make some money on it.
That's cool. And that's really upstanding of you, and a lot of high integrity move to tell the seller of the item or the person donating the item, like, hey, this is my intention with it. I think most people, because of the profit motive, are not going to disclose that, right? They're like, hey, I'm here, I'm going to grab it. So, and I've seen this to be kind of a common thread with furniture flippers, in that they have the sense of like, I'm getting something, and so I want to give back as well. And, to be honest, in the couch flipping world, that doesn't exist. Not as much. Not as much. I mean, we work a lot with couch flippers, right? It's like the majority of our customers and the audience of this podcast. I mean, couch flippers, by and large, they're men. Furniture flippers, by and large, as well, are women. But certainly are men that flip furniture as well. But I think, with furniture, there tends to be a little bit more of an artistic and creative dimension to the process as well. Like, I'm taking this piece, I'm laboring on it, I'm transforming it. There is a part of myself that's in this item. Whereas with couch flippers, you don't really transform it. You clean it, maybe you repair it, but you're not doing something to make it drastically different than what it was. That would almost be weird. And so, the couch flippers are capitalists, and then the furniture flippers tend to have more of this artistic dimension to it. But, in the examples that you just gave, we had that full range, right? The flip that gave you the most adversity took a lot of work to transform, but ultimately it paid off. But then the flip that you remembered quite fondly, you didn't have to work on it that much, and you're able to recognize a huge profit. And I'm curious, as you think about the range of different flips that you've done, do you prefer to have the piece where you're spending a lot of time and working on it and, transforming it? Or do you prefer to just like pick up things and be able to flip them for quick cash? Like, what's more your approach?
I would say I like a balance of it because, as I was saying earlier, furniture flipping has become a therapy for me. Like, being able to zone out and just sand, or to, transform the piece. It's so rewarding. But I still am in this for financial gain, not just for fun. And so it's good to have those quick flips that you can just clean up and sell as is, and you don't have to pour your entire self into. Because again, as a stay-at-home mom, I've got a lot of demands outside of my job path. So it's nice to have that quick reward as well. And I mean, it doesn't always turn out that way. I've bought a set of nightstands that are still sitting in my living room that I thought would be a quick sell, and they're not. But it's most of the time, I would say, pretty simple to find something that's in good condition and sell as is. And, even for people who are tied up financially and they're like, oh, I just needed $300 to make this bill. I promise you, if you get on Facebook Marketplace, find a dresser for $50, wipe it down, and sell it as is, like, you will get your $300 because it's an easy way to make quick cash. But after listening to several of the couch flippers, it sounds like they have a well-oiled machine. They're not working out of their garage. Like, you've got a warehouse and you've got a crew. And so there are caps to what a furniture flipper can do as one person, but it's definitely an option to make quick cash.
Yeah, and I think there are some key differences in the business models as well, other than the mindset that goes into it. Couches tend to be big and bulky, difficult to move. Even like sectionals, even though they come into pieces, maneuvering those pieces around tight corners, up stairwells, there is definitely a physical labor component to moving a couch. That exists with furniture as well, but then again, you have like smaller pieces of furniture which are relatively easy to move, whether it's like a console table, coffee table, nightstand kind of deal. Like those would be on the side that's easier to move. But big dining room table, big dresser, of course, those are going to, if it's solid wood or solid marble, something like that, those are going to be harder to move. With couch flipping, I would say a really busy couch flipper on his own can be moving around 30 couches a month. It's about one flip a day, right? And that's if you're doing all of your sourcing on Facebook Marketplace, all of your sourcing on local marketplaces, and then all of your selling on local marketplace. That's what a really busy flipper looks like. Because for every single flip, they have to go find the deal on Facebook. Maybe they use the Ivy Flip app to help them, right? Get an instant notification whenever those deals are posted. Then they negotiate with the seller. They have to go pick it up, inspect the item. Maybe there's something wrong with it, drive it back, clean it, stage it, take photos. So for every single sale that they're making, it's like a 4 or 5 hour process. Do you have an idea of what the upper limit of furniture flipping might look like? If you were doing it full time, or if you know any other furniture flippers that are doing it full time, like about how many items do you think they can flip on their own?
So it really depends on your situation. Like, if one of my top follows as a furniture flipper is Designed by Tennessee, her name is Jennifer, and it's her and her mom that run the business. And I'm not sure what their total income is, but they are selling their flips for thousands. Like, they have cornered their market really well and they work this full time. So I would say she probably makes easily $10,000 a month just on furniture flipping, because she puts out the best product of refinished furniture and she's flipping quickly. Like, for me, I am also capped because I'm a homeschool mom too. So, like, I have a lot outside of this that I can't put more than, I don't know, 20 hours a week into this. So it really depends on your market and your schedule as to what you can produce. And there are ways, if you start shipping furniture, that you can increase your income. If you start listing on Etsy, for me, I've stuck with my local market and I'm happy with that for now. I think, will be a time where my kids are older and a bit more independent while I will expand. But yeah, it's like you said, it's kind of all about the mindset of where you're at for it. So there are ways to make multiple thousands, but from what the numbers I've heard of couch flipping, I don't think a furniture flipper could come close.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I think it's somewhat taken for granted that you can't make a lot of money furniture flipping. And I've studied the market, right? Like, I've studied the couch flipping market, and I've seen people literally start in a garage with a trailer. So very minimal investment, build all the way up to a 7-figure revenue business. And these businesses are sort of just emerging now. In the next few years, I think these businesses will be multi-million-dollar brands. Whereas when I look over on the furniture flipping side, the people who tend to be making the most money are not actually making that much money flipping furniture. They're making more money creating content. Yeah.
Absolutely. There is no cap to making money in content creation. I am not quite there yet, but that is the goal, because then when you're flipping furniture, you have complete freedom.
Super interesting. I mean, I had another furniture flipper on the pod recently, Mariah Howard. One thing she talked about is how she doesn't really flip furniture anymore. She doesn't like buy things for the purpose of, working on them to resell them. She just does custom work. So, people, like, she has a reputation for being able to, restore things and bring things back to life. People will bring her vintage or antiques out of their family home, and she'll just, charge them an hourly rate. So when it comes to couch flipping, we say that you make money for one of two reasons. The first is because you're providing a value-added service. So the fact that you're delivering and you're cleaning, all of these services have value, and you could charge for that value. You could charge for delivery, you could charge for cleaning. And the other reason you make money is because you make money on the buy. The other reason you make money is because you have recognized value in something that someone else did not see, namely the person that's selling the furniture. When it comes to outsized opportunities for return, it's actually made on the buy, because the labor has somewhat of fixed cost, or the labor has somewhat of a fixed value associated with it. It's determined more by the market rate. A 1 hour delivery, maybe that costs $50 to $100. Cleaning a single couch, maybe that value is something like $200, $300. And then the more specialized the work that you're doing, the more value that labor could cost, but it's determined by the market. Whereas if you go to a yard sale and you come across an antique rug, and the person at the yard sale thinks it's junk, but you know that it's really worth $50,000, that's really where you can get a lot of leverage on your time beyond like market rate for the time of the service that you're providing. Now, if we were to apply that same thought process to furniture flipping, what are the hidden gems that you're looking for? Where are the opportunities to make money on the buy as opposed to making money on the restoration and the refinishing of furniture?
It's definitely in the condition and the material of the piece. So there is a known saying that just because it's free doesn't mean it's actually free. And I have got caught up by that so many times, where I am like truly addicted to furniture flipping and furniture finding. And once I see it's free, I'm like, yes, I'm in. But when you get it home, if the drawer slides are messed up, that is going to cost you so much. It's a real challenge to replace drawer slides. If, like there's water damage, that can be challenging to fix. So you want to look for something that's solid wood, because wood is the most forgiving. Like, you can work with it, you can do it and undo it and redo it, and it will still be there for you. Whereas a lot of furniture now, even like high ticket furniture, I call it disposable because it's made out of MDF or composite wood, and you put your water glass on it and leave it too long and it sweats, then your piece of furniture is now ruined. And you're going to have to do a full flip to get that back to looking nice. Whereas wood piece of furniture, you can redo that spot or redo just the top of something. So solid wood furniture for sure. Good drawer tracks, absolutely. And those would be the two main things that will save you labor and cost upfront.
So, like, as you think about your sourcing process nowadays, what is your sourcing process nowadays?
I don't do a lot of sourcing now, because when I first started this, I got a high off of collecting furniture, and I filled up a 3-car garage and a storage unit, and I can't even possibly work that fast. But I source a lot through, there's an app called Freebie Alerts, and it will alert you every time somebody posts something for free. I live in Houston, Texas, so we are rampant here with stuff being given away constantly. And so on there, I watch Facebook Marketplace like a hawk. I have gotten the word out enough that people will just bring me furniture, or they'll be like, hey, I'm getting rid of this, do you want it? I'll be the first person they ask. Or a lot of auctions. There's an auction near me that sells antiques, and I can get them pretty cheap. And I like it because I don't have to be there in person, and I can do it all online. So, and two, I drive around on trash night and look for furniture at the curb. I've gotten several pieces that way. So I have a few different methods of getting furniture, but I would say my number one would probably be the Freebie Alerts, because it pulls from Facebook, OfferUp, and like its own platform, and it saves me time from having to go to every platform. It sounds like similar to Ivy Flip, but this is for just free stuff. So you can still find good deals, but you have to go out and look for them.
When we first created the company, obviously we were looking at the couch flipping market and also the furniture flipping market. The furniture flippers and the couch flippers seem to have different problems. So the couch flippers would tell me if I could find more good couches, if I could find more quality deals, I could make more money. And then the furniture flippers were like, I have enough furniture. And, you know, I have oodles and oodles of furniture. I just can't sell it all. So I have a sales problem. Does that seem to be the case for you as well?
Absolutely. Like, especially now, when I first started, I could sell pieces like crazy. And this was 2021 when everybody's getting their stimulus checks. And, like, there's a little more
Supply chain disruption as well. So long lead times to get new furniture.
Yeah. So now, like, I've increased my prices. There's less of a demand, and things are going quite a bit slower on the sales front now. And it's like, with couches, it was either you or one of the guests you had that talked about a couch is like the number one thing you want for your home. You can eat on it, you can sleep on it, like you come home and relax on it. Whereas a dresser, not everybody uses a dresser. Sometimes people will hang up their clothes or, like different styles, different needs, the amount of space you have. There are just different demands for that. And I've learned like the amount of work that you put into a table and chairs is almost never going to give you a return that's worth the time investment. And desks, kind of the same thing. Armoires, hutches, like big things like that are pretty outdated. Like nobody is displaying china anymore. Nobody has a TV to put in a cabinet. Nobody wants this big, bulky piece of furniture that's going to take up half your space. And so I've learned to stick to dressers and nightstands, buffets. But again, they are in high demand, but I would say a couch is more. And like you said, you can break down the process of couch flipping into 4 or 5 hours of finding, sourcing, getting, cleaning, staging, whereas furniture is going to take more than that. You were saying earlier too about how couches are typically bigger and bulkier, and like I've flipped, I think, 3 couches. The problem that I've had with couch flipping is absolutely moving it. Like, I have a saying that if there's a will, there's a way, and I have the will to move furniture. Constantly, listings are saying, bring 2 men, you're gonna need a truck or whatever. And I show up in my SUV by myself, and they're like, we said you need help for this, and I will get my dolly and I will figure it out. I don't care if it's upstairs in the back room with stuff in the way. I will make it happen because I always say I can manhandle a dresser to get it where I want it, but a couch is not the same. Like, you have to be careful of the frame and the fabric and everything else. Whereas furniture, I'm like, I'm fixing it up anyway. If it gets another extra scratch or whatever, I'll sand it out. And so couch flipping as a lone person doing this is not an option for me. But furniture flipping, like, yeah, anybody can grab a dresser, anybody can pick up some nightstands and make it happen.
The thing that strikes me about furniture flipping is I understand there's this creative component of it, but at the end of the day, the point is to make money, right? That's why we get in the game, because we want to be rewarded for that labor as well. And so even if we get some self-satisfaction, it's got to at least pay a little bit for itself. It's got to pay for itself, and then make margin on top of that. Even better. I'm surprised that more furniture flippers haven't taken the approach of trying to just focus on getting to the best deals and securing them as quickly as possible, and then trying to sell them as quickly as possible with a minimal amount of labor, right? Just doing the basics to get things ready for sale so that it meets your quality standard, but not, spending 20 hours fixing a hutch if you don't have to. And like that is the economic reality for couch flippers. I think that is very well ingrained in the couch flipping community, but it seems that the sense of urgency and fiscal prudence is not so much top of mind for furniture flippers. And maybe you could unpack that for me.
Well, one, I did not realize how lucrative couch flipping was, in my head. So there's a reel I've made where I saw a couch that I wanted. I was like, oh, I can flip that. And my husband wasn't able to come help me. So I shoved it on top of my SUV because I didn't have a truck. I didn't have a trailer at the time. And all I had was my SUV and some tie downs. And so I shoved it up there by myself. But I put so much into that. Like, I think I spent an entire day cleaning it. I have like one of those little green giant cleaners, and sold it for $150. And I was like, never again am I doing that. So it cost me so much labor and so little reward. So I would definitely have to learn the business of couch flipping, because that's not something I know. I did flip a couch that was on somebody's curb, and all I really did was vacuum it up and like spray it, make sure it smelled good. And I sold that for $200, and that was wonderful. But it was also kind of like a one-off lucky deal. And so it is a lot of difference between male and female mindset, that where men just have more of an operational mindset, where women have more of a sentimental mindset, And so I've talked a lot about business with my husband, and he'll be like, okay, you need to get somebody who can go out there and get the piece of furniture for you so you don't have to take the time to drive and get it and whatever. And then you need somebody who can just stand in, each thing. And once I start talking to him, his gears start going. He's like, okay, these are the things you need to do. But then for me, I start getting overwhelmed with the process of like throwing in all of my other duties on top of managing people when I'm managing little people. So I think it is a mindset thing. I definitely want to learn the mindset of couch flipping because, like you said, at the end of the day, it really is about your fiscal gain and a lot less labor. Because for me, the goal of this was for my family and I to have a comfortable life and not have to stress that now we have to buy a new car even though we weren't expecting it. Now our insurance has gone up, therefore our mortgage has gone up and we didn't expect it. It's like not living paycheck to paycheck. So the goal would absolutely be a quicker flipping system, which I would say is not so much in the furniture flipping industry as much as it sounds like it is in the couch flipping industry.
Yeah, and I think there are ways that furniture flippers and couch flippers can learn from one another. Couch flippers definitely have that like quick flip mindset, like let me set up a process and then repeat it. And the more I can repeat that process, the more money I can make. But couch flippers have also lost a lot of creativity. They've sort of pigeonholed themselves. So there's so many couch flippers I know where they'll walk into someone's house, they're moving out a couch, and that person will be like, hey, I have this like really nice dining table. I don't want to take it with me. Do you want to grab it? And the couch flipper will like think about it like, I don't know. Right. It's because like with couch flipping, they have a model and maybe they didn't have to discover that model for themselves. They were given parameters to work within. So they kind of knew like what the name of the game was, and that's because they watched the podcast or they're part of the community, and so they kind of know like I want to look for a big gray sectional, buy it for $100, clean it, sell it for 500. But they never actually learned to take risk. So they never experimented with other kinds of furniture, whether it's a hutch or a bed or a dining table. And so they're like, I don't know if I can take money on that. So despite like the necessity of taking risk to be a successful entrepreneur, couch flippers, of course, are entrepreneurs. Like there's a lack of creativity sometimes. And, I think there's absolutely an opportunity to be making money flipping other kinds of furniture, especially as add-on, right? So if you're selling a couch, maybe they want a coffee table or maybe they want a rug. Right. So how much money do you think the average furniture flipper can expect to make? And maybe just reflecting on your experience in the Houston market.
I would say the average, if you're flipping a piece or two a week, would be maybe $2,000 would be like if this isn't a full-time business for you. If you did a full-time business, I would say maybe 5,000, but you have to know your market and you have to be producing exactly what your market wants and know how to market yourself as well. Because as I'm sure couch flippers know, staging your piece makes or breaks your sale. If you're just snapping a quick photo and there's one picture, it's not selling, So you have to know the ins and outs of how to sell your pieces to get the most out of it. And then, like I said earlier, you have the options of shipping and things like that. But I would say on average, you can expect $2,000.
Got it. And that's like side hustling, flipping about one or two items a week. That makes total sense. Now, you said two very important things. The first is you have to know your market and you have to know how to market your products. So maybe you could break that down. Like, how do you look at things with Houston? Like, define the Houston market? What are people on the lookout for? How do you cater to those tastes? Let's start there.
So when I first started, I wanted to be creative in it. I was like awakened to this whole new world and excited about it. But I quickly learned that extravagant pieces don't typically sell. Like you can find a market for that, but it's going to take a lot longer. So for me, I have to do very simple, neutral colored furniture. When I first started, everything was gray. Everybody loved gray. Gray sold like crazy, gray and white. And now it's more like the Pottery Barn dupe look where there's like more of a neutral tan, beige type color. And wood, stains, refinishing, all of that kind of style furniture is all coming back. It's like a trend of grandma furniture, they're calling it. That's coming back, which I love. And it's funny because before I started this, I did not care about furniture. I was like, whatever, if it can hold my clothes, great. And now that I'm into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that, you know? Because for me, my favorite style of furniture is Art Deco. It's so intricate. There's so much style to it. Like, I love it. But that doesn't sell here. So I have to let that dream go if I'm going to make money. And what was your second question? Knowing my market?
Just aspects of understanding your market. So Art Deco, not so much in Houston, maybe more like mid-century modern.
Yes, absolutely. Mid-century modern seems to be almost timeless. And I think part of the reason is like it's clean lines. You look at it and it's like simple and it's not overwhelming, and it just has a nice clean look, and it's versatile. You can put it in a boho room, you can put it in a contemporary room, you can put it in an industrial room, and it kind of flows with other styles really well.
So items that are sort of neutral, that can be versatile in a variety of different settings, neutral colors. And then about like what price points and like types of items, you said like dressers, nightstands, right?
Yes, so I would say for dressers, for a mid-century modern refinished dresser, I can usually get $1,000. But like a painted furniture or something else, I would say probably anywhere from $500 to $750, depending on the drawers, the size, all of that. And then nightstands are anywhere from like $250 to $550 for a set. You never want to do a single nightstand, like it just won't go anywhere. So for a set, $250 to $550 would be the average. If you find like the right mid-century modern nightstands or something, then you can sell them for more, but you have to make sure you have the right thing and know what you're selling.
So it sounds like the big money maker for you is refinished solid wood dresser. What if you could get your hands on 30 refinished wood or solid wood dressers that you can then refinish every month? Do you think that could potentially explode your sales?
Not even close, because I would have to refinish those. So when I first started, painted furniture was in, and painting furniture is far easier than refinishing furniture. It's not easy, but it's easier because you don't have to worry about sand marks or splotchiness if the stain doesn't take right. Or a lot of furniture is made with different types of wood, so then you're having to match the different types of wood. Or if your stain goes bad, or if you're using gel stain, or, you know, there's a lot of different variations of things that can go wrong with refinishing as opposed to painting. Painting is like makeup. You can cover up any blemish and you're good to go. If there is missing veneer, you have to match that veneer perfectly to the veneer that's there. Whereas if there's a gouge out of a dresser and you're going to paint it, you just put some Bondo on, shape it to the shape you need, and cover it up. Like, no problem. So the time it takes to refinish a piece of furniture, well, for me, is very time consuming.
That makes sense. Yeah, because like what I'm trying to figure out is like if you look at through your entire catalog of sales, you've sold a ton of different items, all different shapes, sizes, different price points, painted, refinished, etc. There have to have been some items like that ideal flip that we talked about way at the beginning of the podcast, where it's like the perfect mix of you bought it at the right price, minimal amount of work to get it finished, and you were able to sell it at a healthy profit margin. And there, you know, if we were to try to focus in on like 3 to 5 items that you'd want to carry in a catalog like that, right? This is the mindset of a flipper, right? It's like, you know, I bought that West Elm Harmony for $200 and I flipped it for 14. I spent an hour and a half cleaning it. If I could get that all day long, I'd be making $1,000 all day long, right? Like if you had to pick a couple products like that if you could just get your hands on them, you feel like you could make more money, what would they be?
9-drawer mid-century modern dressers with legs. 9-drawer mid-century modern dressers without legs still sell well, but not as quickly as dressers with legs. And then like modern style nightstands are the goat of my market for refinishing. So there are several pieces that I've gotten and that were like that dream piece where I just cleaned up and sold, but they're a little more intricate, and I had to sit on them for a while. But all I did was polish them, and then I was able to sell them each for over $1,000. So it is like a lot of it is being willing to wait for the sale and getting good quality furniture. But it's funny, like when I first started, there's a certain type of furniture that I would consider disposable furniture that would sell so fast, and it's cheap. Like the drawer slides are cheap. The look of it to me is cheap. But anytime I redid that type of dresser and it was always painted, it would sell so fast. It sucked the joy out of my soul to redo those dressers, because it's like, there is nothing exciting about these dressers. And I feel like I'm selling you a bad piece of furniture because it's going to fall apart in a few years.
But if it makes them, happy, right?
Yes. So there you go. There's the example of the holdup. It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell crappy furniture that's going to fall apart and looks boring. Fit the bill.
Okay. Well, Lane, we're almost at our time together. To finish up, I would like to explore this question of, as a furniture flipper, how should you market yourself? One complaint that I've heard is that when you post an item on Facebook Marketplace, you get lowball offers. You're talking with people who don't necessarily understand the labor and the value of what you've done. And so how do you stand out from the sea of other listings, and how do you stand out as a flipper in your market?
So no matter what, you will have those people who are going to give you the lowball offers, that are going to haggle you and all of that. You just have to learn to not take it personally and let it go. But to stand out, it is in your staging. If you can get a well-lit picture with, like, people need to envision that dresser in their home. So not a staging picture in your garage or just like in the yard. Like, stage it where it looks like it's in a home with beautiful decor on top of it, and make sure that you have an efficient description, but not too much. People don't like to read a lot. So I've learned to put your measurements at the top and then your location next and then the description of the furniture, because most of my incoming messages were like, where are you located, or what is the size of it? And you can trim down your messages by just being efficient in your description and then having really good photos. I like to put my Instagram handle on there so that they know what upcoming inventory I have, or if they're looking for a custom piece, they can reach out to me through there. And that's kind of my catalog of my work that I've done. And just being willing to have the conversation. It's not always efficient, but there are so many times I was ready to write somebody off for their irritating message or whatever, and then it leading to a sale, or it led to me customizing a piece of furniture. And just knowing that everybody is still a human and they still have money to spend. So if you show people respect, it will be returned back to you.
Lane, thank you so much for sharing your story today. It's been inspiring and very cool to look through how you think about your furniture flipping business. I'm sure this is going to be helpful for a lot of people. Hope to have you on a future episode of the pod. And with that, we can conclude.
Thank you, Charles. It's been fantastic to be on here and talk with your community. And definitely, if anybody has questions about furniture flipping, they can reach out to me at Repurpose Lane, and I'm happy to talk about furniture flipping to no end.
Absolutely. And we'll include a link to your social media profiles in the description of this video.